Good afternoon, everybody. I am, of course, the script doctor. Happy to be here on your phones or in your homes to talk to you about something really fun, something everyone has been kind of clamoring for a few years, and that is a real indie film that's looking for some funding to go into production. It's called Island in the Stars. And to tell us all about it without spoiling it for us in the future is the writer-director, Mr. Tom Konkle. Hello, Tom. Happy to have you here.
Hello, Script Doctor. Thanks for having me on here. This is an exciting time. We had a really nice launch. You joined us for some of that on another channel, and I'm super excited to be on your channel here to talk about hopefully blazing some new ground with something that's both classic and fresh at the same time.
Well, this is one of the things that I was really happy to schedule out with you because in our little area of the internet, there's so many people, potential audience, that are just clamoring for some very classic, fun films and science fiction in particular. And well, you have answered that request with Island in the Stars. So before we get into some of the details of the campaign and whatnot, please share with the audience your pitch for Island in the Stars.
All right. Well, really, it's a discovery. A young woman who is, as I say, she's leading a life of quiet desperation. It's a slow drip, but she's bleeding. She is on a distant world in the very far future and runs an interstellar outpost, and her name is Jackie Driscoll. And it's really her story. She's taking care of an inn and her mother when all of a sudden a dying space pirate brings something into her hands, a box, a thing that contains a map and some information that it seems that only she can open. And so with the help of Dr. Chesham, who's an ex-military doctor, Squire Huntingfeld, who's a eccentric benefactor, and Captain Eldridge, who is a ship's captain, she goes on an adventure across the stars to try and find the meaning of this strange object that she had, and to find out possibly what happened to her father. And she finds that her destiny is out there, hidden somewhere on an island in the stars.
Oh, that's fantastic. So let's go take a look at the Indiegogo campaign, which has been doing quite well with the limited days it's already started out. To everyone that has already supported, obviously Tom sends his thanks, but
Yes, thank you.
we have here, as shown on the page, 62 backers, and it is in Canada because I got them in Canada at the moment. But with regards to the conversion, as you can see popped up here, it's a little over $4,000 of the 66,000 total goal.
Correct.
And
And in Australia, Script, that is over $6,000 because the American dollar, I think it's 65 cents to the dollar right now, and we are shooting in Australia. So it's good spendable money. It's a great start for only a few days.
Exactly. And it's great that you're shooting in Australia. So share with the audience the advantages of shooting in Australia and why you chose to pick that country for this production.
Well, there's numerous advantages. The talent pool, for one. This was a sort of bucket list film for Vernon. He's someone that I've collaborated with on another movie called Trouble Is My Business, and he is originally from Australia. He played, villains in Commando and Road Warrior and Inner Space, and he has a very deep bench of talent that he can reach out to in Australia, as do I. I studied the Australian New Wave in the 80s, in fact, the new movement with Peter Weir and George Miller and everyone. With Australia, there are significant advantages. Not only does the story call for a unique environment in which I was thinking, well, what if Australian culture and the idea of sort of an Australian Navy moving out into the stars was kind of interesting, because you don't see a lot of science fiction that is Australians and everyone makes it in Australia, Indigenous people, and it allows me to cast legends in the Australian acting world, but also discover new talent. Also, significant tax advantages. They've been one of the reasons the new wave happened in the 80s was the government has been very supportive of filming there because you're spending your money in the country, you're using their facilities, all the knockoff effect, you get a producer's offset, and that is spendable money. So the combination of that the pool of talent in Australia and the relationships that I have, an Australian producer, I've got Vernon involved. We've got so many places that we can go in Australia and film and have it be a unique location, a new place. I have a partnership with Dream Screen Australia, which is also a virtual stage. So it all made sense the minute it all started to come together, giving it that kind of Australian culture, that voice, and that talent pool. It made it unique, and it made it something that made it a lot more easy to make this film on a smart budget.
Well, that sounds like a very inventive way of not just achieving the variety of talent that you can pick from the country,
Mm-hmm.
but also giving a new type of voice or perspective into the science fiction genre that isn't predominantly British or predominantly American. And there's some
Correct.
fun that can be had in there. And that's one of the things, as I've mentioned publicly, I got the privilege to read the script. And it's one of the things that gives the language in the script a great flourish that we don't often see in
Yeah.
current day science fiction films. Can you explain a little bit with regards to the advantage of that and what drove you to that versus going with the contemporary language that has been used throughout films, at least over the last decade or so?
Yeah, you're a man of words, and I think the audience will respond to this too. It's a great point you make. The formality of setting it in an Australian language that is based on a more Victorian, they're all convicts from the UK, so there's this kind of earthiness to them, but also a formality in the script. And what I like about that is it doesn't make it of our time. It isn't a thing that comments on the now. It becomes a very mannered culture, and it becomes one that becomes timeless because there's a formality to it. It makes you have, as you know, when you're writing, you want emotions to kind of seethe. You don't want everyone to speak their subtext. And so because we gifted these characters with a formality that's a mix of Australian culture, Victorian kind of mores, it creates a tension, but also a kind of universal evergreen quality to it. You don't there's not a bunch of modern day cursing and this kind of stuff. They acted a certain way. And so by gifting the words with a kind of timeless quality where grandma will get it, kids will get it, guys our age will get it, I think it makes it a more relevant and have a longer shelf life as a story.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So let's take a moment and share the pitch video that's on your Indiegogo page for the people watching right now to get lost in Island in the Stars.
Terrific.
Oh, they're saying there's no sound. Let me start that again. I apologize, everybody. I have only sharing the audio.
That's the silent movie Charles Chaplin version of the pitch.
Yeah. That's the silent movie. Let's try that again because I've clicked the
These
share
things
sound.
happen. Yeah,
Let's
these
see.
things happen.
You were hearing it, right?
No, I was not.
You were not? Okay, let's try now.
My name is Vernon George
Hear that?
Wells. I'm an actor and a
Yes.
producer. And what we're talking about is a wonderful film I'll be doing called Island in the Stars.
Island in the Stars is the story of a young woman named Jackie Driscoll, who on a faraway planet encounters a roguish space pirate who has with him a mysterious box that may lead to her missing father, as her destiny lies hidden on an island in the stars.
So my name is Emily Coop. I am an actor, singer-songwriter, and I'm playing Jackie. Island in the Stars is pretty much Pirates of the Caribbean meets Star Wars. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
It's the kind of movie that 14-year-old Tom would have been like, I want to see this. I have to see this movie. Because I think you should be making films. You should be making art that you yourself want to see.
So when we started putting this together, I just started going through my Rolodex of 40 years odd of people, not just people in front of the camera, but people behind the camera, people that I know, calling in favors and talking to people. Because I think that this film deserves to have the best.
Obviously, working with Dream Screens Australia is huge. They're an amazing, talented group of people, and the technology they're bringing into film is just fantastic.
It's going to be wonderful, and seriously, I'll be ringing a lot of you up to see this and pestering the heck out of you to get this film made, because I think it's wonderful.
Island in the Stars is truly an epic science fiction adventure film.
Island in the Stars allows for all of these elements to come together in this confluence of a movie that I want to see, that is a action adventure fantasy science fiction movie.
It will be fun, you will love it, and we will do everything we can to make it the best that there is. So please. This film will remind you of what you've missed out on and show you that it's still there, and you'll be able to talk to your kids and say, that's what it used to be like. Island in the Stars. I can't wait for you to see it.
There you go.
There you go, indeed. So that looks absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of work went into that. As you know, we started developing this 2 or 3 years ago. And it's really a basket for everything that I love, a swashbuckling kind of. I've always loved movies, you know, the old school movies where it was like a team of people with different skills going on a quest, and you know, Joseph Campbell, you know, hero's journey, all of this stuff fits in here. And I wanted to do something as Jules Verne and, you know, Treasure Island style adventure. And so this became a place for all of those ideas to kind of meld together. Once we had the characters in the story, it was like, and what world can we create to tell the story?
Yeah, so without giving any spoilers, obviously, and using, of course, some of the imagery that we just saw in that video, paint us a little bit of a picture to tease the audience out there of what type of world they will be experiencing if they support Island in the Stars, and it gets out into distribution, whatever way that might be. I mean, ideally, we're going for theaters, right?
Right.
Here.
Yeah. In order to make our money back, you're absolutely right. We are going for a theatrical release. You really can't recoup it unless, you know, you're in a streamer and they've, you know, paid for it in advance. It's really hard for an indie filmmaker to get a minimum guarantee, which is basically that licensing for what it's worth. You really want to have it driven by a theatrical release. And I have some experience getting movies and things distributed theatrically. We already have 2 offers for distribution on the film now. One of the reasons we're doing the fundraising is the admin and the legal fees to look at the contracts they're giving us to make sure we're not getting, you know, a bad deal. Those all cost money, and we are a small, scrappy indie bunch of people. and to play with the big boys and girls, we have to have some capital to make offers and to have people look at contracts and things. So the world we're creating is a very exotic world. It has its own internal logic. Gave it a lot of thought of, there are elements of, I love the aesthetic of steampunk. I think the steampunk aesthetic works for this because this posits a sort of master and commander naval universe where those kind of uniforms, those kinds of mores, that kind of discipline and aesthetic, even the look of the ships, never went away. It just evolved. And in this world, that kind of dictates the look of the clothes. We're talking about being on a high frontier. Basically, this is taking their society and moving it out into the world, and all the problems you'd run into with, naval lines being raided by pirates, with settling new planets, which, I've always thought of planets in this as those are the islands in the stars. And that aesthetic allows you to introduce a lot of cool rules about the tech, about the weapons, but all of it needed for me to make sense in the flow of the story. And so there are definite rules, but there's also a wonderful aesthetic of extreme futurism, but married to a kind of organic steampunk Victorian feel where you might have a contraption, but it's also made of wood and ivory, as well as having a holoscreen. So you have all of that combining to create a world where there are definite visual aesthetics, and that it feels like all of these things were designed by one culture that's moving out into the stars, but then it evolves depending on what characters have it. A pirate would have a very different ship, or a ship that he's retrofitted. A building would be one that was originally built on a Victorian aesthetic, but then as modern technology got encrusted on it over hundreds and hundreds of years, it evolves as such. And it's very pulp science fiction. I know you're a fan as well of the pulp science fictions of the 30s and 40s. So it's that anything can happen. You might go to a planet and there's giant insects and there's ancient ruins and there's all these things. That world we can play in an island in the stars.
Well, one of the things I noticed, because you were gracious enough to send me some concept art that I've used to make this thumbnail here. And one of the things that was a running theme I felt when I was looking at all the imagery is that the technology has an artistic value to it. It's like whoever is building this, they're not just trying to make it for function. They're trying to make it aesthetically pleasing. It's a beautiful piece. It's a work of art. And that is something I felt is kind of lost a little bit in other science fiction stories. That is definitely a
Agreed.
key of the old school pulps. And when it came to like what inspired you primarily to make that decision, aside from just like the Australian history and the Victorian era influence, what was what opportunities did you see in going that direction as opposed to the more sterile take that we've seen recently?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really grappled with it because there is that industrial aesthetic. There's also the what if NASA, 2000 years from now had that utilitarian look. And I thought, you know what? As humans, we gravitate towards melding the architectural with the beautiful aesthetic. I mean, look at Rome, where the creation of the domes and the columns, we added things to buildings and ships that really didn't need to be there. You didn't need to have, the Starbuck on the front. You didn't need to have the paint. You didn't need to have all the logos and the treatments and things that you have, the symbols. But it made it visually pleasing and it made it more human. And I thought there is something where I think it's been overmined, and I think you'll agree that industrial aesthetic has been done very well. A military industrial aesthetic like Aliens, or most sci-fi that you'll see is that NASA just thrown forward, or with Star Trek it has a certain aesthetic, a very clean line aesthetic. And I thought, what if the thing that kind of fed each one of the great civilizations that's come up, from the Greeks, the Romans, Macedonians, Aztecs, all of them, they married their technology to a beauty. You can look at something and go, you know what? They could have just made 4 walls and a ceiling, but they didn't. They made the Sistine Chapel. Or you could have made just a sailboat, but they didn't. They made the Constitution. And so I thought, let's take that idea that there would be a beauty and a craft to what they're doing, because they are essentially a seafaring science fiction society. And I said, you know what? Let's do that with the ships and do that with all of the designs, because there is a care. They feel lived in, but at the same time visually pleasing, because if you did have to live with that for an epoch, for a long period of time, you would get bored with just plain suit, zipper. They begin to get more ornate, and you can see that reflected in the designs. I'm going to lean hard into that.
Yeah, just showing the audience out there a couple of the images that you've got conceptualized here. You've got a level of formality and art in the fashion alone. And one of the things I liked about it is that there's a complexity on one end of it, but there also appears to be a simplicity as well. Like, it's not going overbound. There's not, where you see in some of those science fiction shows or stories, a soldier is wearing armor so big, how can they turn their head or lift up their arms or anything of that nature, right?
Right, exactly. It's not practical, is it? Yeah.
It's not practical. It's kind of got a ceremony to it. And I love the fact that from the concept art that you pitched and the stuff that you've said today, it feels almost like ceremony is the norm when it
Yes.
comes to the fashion and to the presentation of technology and architecture.
Great observation. Yeah, that's a great observation. The in the story, the class system is very much in play. Our lead character was in a academy of sorts and wants to get back to it. And all the relationships, like how you conduct yourself on a ship, the only way it really works in reality is to have your station, have everyone have their jobs and be very good at it. And the uniforms they have reflect rank, but also status and pride in what they're doing, versus this more chaotic look and the more barbaric look of your space pirates in this thing. And that goes back to, look at Roman times. You had the barbarian hordes invading, and yet you had the very formal dress of the generals, right down to the foot soldiers, the centurions, everyone in a Roman society. There was a certain pride, and it was really an emblem for the character. So you're right. Every frame of this, I wanted to reflect something about the story, something about the relationship between the characters. Just looking at them, you kind of knew something about them.
That's fantastic, and that's the type of detail we don't often hear in pitches and press junkets with regards to films, unless there's someone out there to actually ask it themselves. Speaking of which, you guys out in the chat, if you have questions for Mr. Tom Konkle here about this production or about anything else regarding what he does, please get them in now. We already have a great one. I hope this one doesn't spoil it for anyone, but we'll bring it up anywhere. So it's from Slacker23, who asks, what's the runtime if this full funding is fulfilled?
Now, are we talking the runtime of the movie, or how long it will take to make the movie once it's funded? I'll address both of those. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with the let's leave them a little bit in suspense with the runtime of the film. So that'll be the second half.
Yeah, that hopefully will be not interminable. It'll be a fast whatever it is. But yeah, the estimation on this is I would love to be, hitting the ground running next fall, our fall 2024, which would be the spring in Australia. That allows for about 8 months of development time, kind of transferring the flag from here in LA to a company that we're going to start. It's a PTY Limited down in Melbourne, and making offers to actors, doing a lot of the pre-visual. I'm going to pre-visualize this whole thing. We'll have, basic storyboards all the way up to animations, depending on how complex the shot is that I'm doing. I want to rehearse the actors a lot, really make sure the script is airtight, and then do all the building and development that needs to happen. So we need a good year to hit the ground. And then the actual shoot itself is probably going to be, almost 40 days to get this thing done. A lot of it is going to be locations and sets. Some of it will be using virtual stages for set extensions, and just to make the comping look more realistic, to have more interactivity. Not a lot of it is going to need to be from scratch, but I'm going to try and capture a lot of the locations, a jungle and some of the other physical places, the desert, that you really can't get on a stage. The rest of it, obviously, we're going to be using all that virtual technology. And fortunately, my business partner, Michael Smith, he is the co-owner of Luminactus with me, and he does this for a living. He's been doing it for over 20 years. He helped come up with some of the algorithms for, a stagecraft type situation and visual effects. So I'm very lucky to have him as a collaborator. And when we were working on the script, we talked about what was possible to do to value engineer this thing. I don't want to get crazy and go, well, I need to raise $100 million or 200 million, and then I'll have to make $500 million to do this. It was always, how little can we make this for and still have it be good? And we came up with a realistic amount of money that we could make this for.
All right. And so, with that in mind, what do you suppose is going to be the estimated runtime of the feature if when not so much if it's going to get made. I know when it gets made.
You know what? Using the rule of thumb, and this script, as you know, is more descriptive than most. It doesn't just say, woman enters a room. It does paint a little bit of a picture. So the 1 minute per page rule probably doesn't apply as stringently, although I have tried to tighten the script significantly. I think it's going to be around a 2-hour movie. It tries to do a lot of things. It does have that classic 3-act structure, but it does a lot of heavy lifting because we are juggling 5 lead male characters, 2 female characters. All of them have significant sub arcs. All of them have B line, stories, B through line stories. So all of them kind of mesh together in a really exciting climax in the 3rd act. And all of these things, nothing's sacred. You got to kill your baby. So in the edit will be the 3rd time we make this film. We did it once in the script, once while we're shooting it, and then once we're editing it. But I'd like to keep it around that because that feels like a good time. That feels like a nice tight thing for a pulp adventure. Around 2 hours feels like it makes sense.
That sounds like a great target. And the other thing to point out to the audience that are unaware, there's kind of this unwritten rule when it comes to balancing characters in films. And the unwritten rule is try not to go beyond 7. You can get away with 7 characters, and people can remember 7 names, and you can balance 7 quite easily out through a 3-act structure. The moment you start getting to 8, 9, 10, that's when people start confusing actors on the screen.
That's a great point. Yeah, your brain can only, as you said, it can only really hold 7 things and really care about them. And the other good thing about this is some characters come in, have a very important part, but they don't carry all the way through, and other characters are supplemental to the main character. They're sort of aspects of the main characters. And so though each one has, attention and detail lavished on them, it is ultimately one person's story. And I think that's important. You've talked about this before. It's important to have an end point to the story. It's important to have a through line. And if you're going to have a character arc, you can't hand it off to another character. That mistake's been made a lot recently where, I thought this, this show's named after that character, and then it's not about that character. It's a rookie mistake, in my opinion. You have to make it about someone. There has to be an entry point.
All right. And so we also have George Peter Gatsis in the chat who asks us a good question, which you partially answered. So let's elaborate a little bit on that, because you did say Mike Smith. So he asks, do you have your VFX team set up, and what is your Twitter handle?
Well, the Twitter handle is easy. It's at Tom Konkle. I try to respond to everything. Please take a look. Right now it's replete with postings about this, but I also post some other information. I'd love to hear from you, George. As far as the VFX team, again, I've been really lucky. The last feature that I directed was a film noir that ended up having no budget, but 2,000 visual effects. And so it really forced me to expand the network of people that I can rely on. One reason that it's possible to make this for what seems like a meager budget is for that money, we are able to do inside our company vertically. Here's the mistake everybody makes. You make a science fiction or a fantasy film, and then you engage 15 different vendors, 15 different companies to do your visual effects. So every time Tom wants to change something and I go, that doesn't work. Can we do that? You're billed for that. And it goes out and one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. So you have to mesh them all together. And that's an art. When you have a lot of money, you can hire somebody to do that and bring it all together. What we're trying to do is value engineer it again. There's that word. We're trying to value engineer it where we are doing it mostly in-house. So even during the edit, if I want to change a comp or if I want to tweak something or change the way something is going on the VFX side, it can happen in the room with us, and we're not getting billed, and there's not that delay each time. And surprisingly, that's not how people do it. But as an indie, we can do that because we're not doing things according to the way that Hollywood or even, corporate America thinks it should be done. Tech companies now are running movie studios, and they treat everything like they do everything else, which is it's widgets and they're all going out to all these different people, and you just get billed every single time. We're not going to do that, and that's the only way we can make this for a very, very reasonable amount of money.
Well, that sounds like a very conscientious approach to filmmaking, one that hasn't actually been done in, I would say, almost 30 years.
Yeah, that is true.
Because even in the 90s, with the dawn of CGI coming bigger and bigger, there are certain effects houses were being built within the studios, and that's what they were using. And then once that was done, I guess they would then send that out to ILM to do the finishing touches, so to speak.
Yeah.
They did almost everything.
Yeah.
All right. So we also have Lord Toth, who just says, love this conversation. Thank you, Lord Toth. Please, people in the chat, if this is something you enjoy, if this is something you is piquing your interest, please share it out along the interwebs so that more eyes can get on this, so that we can really show our support for Tom Konkle and all the films that men and women like him are putting out there for us to enjoy. Let's take speaking of women, let's take a look at the lovely Emily Coop, who is pitching her role. We can address some of the things that she says, and also address some of the concerns that a lot of people have been conditioned to expect when it comes to actors. So now, as far as I know, the sound is still working on this. So just give me a thumbs up if it is as we go. Hold on, it's got to let me do that. There we go.
So who am I? What am I doing on this film? So my name is Emily Coop, and I'm playing Jackie. I met Tom because I was working on this film called Dark Haven, had the script, and I believe I went to Tom to get him to direct it. And we started to shoot a proof of concept thing. We just stayed in contact as friends, and we became tennis buddies. So that was fun. I think that's when he brought up this film to me, was when I was whooping his butt in tennis. My character, Jackie, she starts off hiding in this inn, wanting to be part of the Navy, to be a cadet, to pursue her dream and to travel in the stars. And then a pirate ship comes and bombs her inn, and she gets swept up in this big adventure. So you definitely give a part of yourself to the character, and they become part of you just with that. You want to feel alive and be swept on the journey by the acting. Yeah, being inspired by her journey, that I can do anything, I'm brave enough to face my fears and take on my dreams and to go for it, and to do what I need to do, even though my family might say be a doctor, go on the journey, be a singer, be a painter, travel to Europe for a year. Life's so short, and you never know if you can see your parents again, or you're going to live tomorrow, so you may as well just live it to the fullest, which is what she does. Yeah, just painting the picture so it's just, boop, here it is. I'm looking forward to kicking some ass. I'd say the film that made me want to get into acting is Tomb Raider, and just doing action and kicking butt, I love. And it's funny because in real life, a lot of my guy friends, I'm like, look, I'm stronger than you. I'm like, look, I can push you over. You can ask my guy friends. I've tried to push them all over, and I usually can. I can push you guys over. And also to work with Tom, because we were talking about working on this other film, and that didn't happen. But I just would love to work on his passion project, and that help him bring it to life, and to do it. Oh my God, it's inspiring, just for actors, for filmmakers, and for anybody going chasing their dreams. I think it's just going to be awesome. It's a film I'd want to watch.
She's a character.
And charming, and that's a great thing to kind of have.
It really is. And you know what, Script, I really want to talk about this. A lot of pushback started happening about female leads in movies, and I think it's because they're not written as human beings. One thing about her and her character is she's not instantly awesome. She's not a Mary Sue. She's not someone where I'm so awesome, and if the rest of the world changes and just realizes how great I am, she's very much a flawed person. She's in hiding. She's like all of us. Every woman knows what this is like, where you're not living your full potential, but you're doing what's right, in quotes. And again, it's a slow drip, but you might be bleeding there as far as not following your destiny. And there are things that she does wrong. There are things that she ignores. There are things that she needs to learn. She has some men around her that really mentor her, that she respects, and they play an important part, an aspect in her growth as a person. And I think that it will resonate with men and women, because at the end of the day, as a human, you go on this journey of, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what is my purpose? Like, is this it? I went one way because it's the right thing to do, but I don't know if I should, or I'm doing this for the money, but it's not what I really want to be doing. Well, that's what this movie's about. At the end of the day, everything needs to be about something. It can't just be about itself. You know, the problem with a lot of sci-fi now is it's about itself. It's like, hey, we know Star Trek. Look, we're doing a thing. Remember this? Or Star Wars or any of that. It started with, what's that feeling you have where you have to leave someone behind, but it's the right thing to do? To long for something more and go, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And to reject the call to adventure, but eventually you're thrust into it and you have to grow. That's what this is about. It wasn't, oh, let's engineer a female and make, everything awesome about her. It's very much, how do we take this woman and shape her experience to become a hero that leads her to do the right thing and to find a greater purpose, a place outside of herself. Because at the end of the day, a hero finds that everything is bigger than themselves.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that I really latched onto when I was reading the script is how vulnerable she is, and how
Yeah.
she's not afraid of her feelings, her femininity, and
Yeah.
the stuff
She's
that
very
she
feminine.
finds important to her. And you mentioned in the pitch that there's a destiny with regards to her father. So you have a sense of familial love,
Yeah.
and there's also a little bit of romance with another character who we will not I'll not reveal on this,
Yeah.
because I think that's something that really allows it to sort of tie into the classic pulp, the classic swashbuckling tales, along the sailing the seas, so to speak, or in this case, sailing the stars. I thought that is really wonderful here. It's not about her trying to be masculine. It's about her
Right.
essentially trying to be as feminine as she could, and that entails the universal truth of responsibility, being able to determine your path and fight for what you want, and drawing on the people that care about you for that support. And we see a couple of those characters in the thumbnail here. And so we'll get into a few more questions. So we have here from the Introspect M, who asks, any idea of the balance between practical and digital effects?
Very good question. I love when a film has a sense that, well, this is real, this is happening, this person's really in some jeopardy. I really am going to strive, and I've been studying, I'm a student of cinema for the last 30 years, and I've been making a lot of things for other people to get them rich. And I want to have as much happen in camera as possible. With a world like this, we're naive to say, oh yeah, I can build it out and everything, because that would be just impractical. But what I will strive to do, and I will promise to do, is with everything, just because it's a lower budget indie film doesn't mean there can't be jeopardy. I mean, look at Road Warrior. Look at there were some great films, adaptions of Jules Verne stories in the 50s and 60s. All of that stuff physically happened on a set. And so I'm going to use digital technology in service of that, but not to supplant it. There isn't going to be some big CGI battle at the end. There isn't going to be some concession to, well, this is about just ships and buildings and CGI. All of that is in the background to support the story. A lot of people pay lip service to this, but something that's super important to me, because my day job has been an actor for almost 30 years. People remember this. They remember how you feel. They remember faces. You remember lines of dialogue. You remember how someone looked in a film, how they responded to something, and how you walked out feeling like you were in the movie or you were a character. Those aren't visual effects. Visual effects are in service of that. So it will have as many practical effects as can be afforded, supplanted with, some other digital effects and other trickery, obviously. But at the end of the day, I hope what you remember isn't the visual effects, but how you felt.
That's a great answer. I'm going to add on to that. When it comes to the in-camera stuff, we know that you're going to be going for locations. How
Yeah.
much are you going to draw upon the old pulp style and adventure film narrative of integrating as much of the location and camera with your actors as you can, versus what we've been seeing more recently, where you get the whole stand and deliver or sit and deliver scenes where you build this very beautiful and elaborate set, but it's
Yeah.
stuck in that medium to close up shot for the entirety of it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And you and I have talked about this before. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're building a set, you got to show it, but you also have to make the actors lean into the performance so that they're the ones commanding the attention. How,
That's
how do
right.
you hope to explore that option with a project like this?
I'm very much a classicist. I tried it as much as I could in Trouble Is My Business. It's mise en scène. It's how you block a scene. So many movies now, you're right, it's stand and deliver, then cut in on this, fast cut on that, cut on that. I love to move the people to emphasize if someone comes close to the camera, they're more important. Someone drops behind, you follow, and in a oneer, you can get the composition one way, people move, and you go into another one, and you feel like the environment is just another character in the script. And if you're going for something that's, had its antecedents in literary giants, like Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert Louis Stevenson, Jules Verne, they wrote in a style that made you have a sense of place, but it also integrated the characters into that place. You want to feel like they're not just standing in front of a projection of a place or, hey, look how beautiful this is, but it's sterile. And I think the lack of sterility and a feeling of organicness is going to be foremost in my mind when I'm doing the mise en scène and blocking the actors and trying to come up with dynamic camera angles, but not overcut it. Trust what happens in the frame. Trust the timing of the actors. Trust that we can follow as an audience the relationship between all of them. Even if the sound was off, I want you to kind of know where you are emotionally with the characters and what their power structure is between them. And that's really the job of the director, is to create an environment where people are free to do that, but you have a very clear, definitive vision of how this thing's going to look and how the environments are integrated with those characters.
Beautifully answered. And one thing I will suggest, if you have not seen it, go see Trouble Is My Business. I believe it's available on Tubi. I also think you can find links on your channel, The Real Deal with Tom Konkle, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
So
all
please
on
go,
there. Yeah.
go check that out. I actually recently showed that movie to my girlfriend a few nights ago.
Oh, you
And
did?
yeah, she really, really enjoyed it. And
thank you.
and one of the things that I actually kind of noticed to build off of your answer is that Roland Drake's office, the dinner
Yes.
scene, the stuff that you
Yeah.
got in the in the graveyard, you all really
Yeah.
you did as much as you could to integrate those sets into the storytelling, because I'm well aware that you had to shoot a lot of that on green screen and do
Yeah.
digitally, just
Yeah.
because you set it in a period where a lot of those buildings don't exist anymore.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of those locations were beyond what but you talk about making much out of little. Trouble Is My Business was a dry run on environments, and you're right. I said, okay, if I have a table and a couple of chairs, how do I evoke a sense of place? And what I did was little subtle hints, like if there's an empty chair, it represents a character who's not there, but who is talked about. It shows a power structure, the people standing over the people seated, a fireplace behind them, and the fire glows a little hotter when someone gets angry. All those things are subliminal, but they play into your enjoyment of it. When I made Trouble Is My Business, my thought was, okay, how do I use these places to their best ability as a stylized kind of, it's a love letter to film noir, but at the same token, these characters live in that space. How do they symbolically use that space, like a graveyard with a grave, and traveling, almost floating through that graveyard, spying on people, a crime happening. The opening line is, "Take me to the cemetery, she's still alive," which is a whole play on the graveyard thing. It's like, wait a minute, she's still alive, but go to the cemetery? This is an upside down world. And even the globe in it, if you notice, there's a globe, a sort of dark globe that's in Drake's office. Well, when the femme fatale comes in, that globe goes upside down. His world is symbolically and literally turned upside down. And that globe factors throughout the entire thing. She's literally playing with the globe later when she's with him. And the globe is one of the very last things we see when she's traveling to try and leave, having done what she did. And I had to think about that. I had to go rent that globe and go, I'm going to put it here. And this thing in this location, if you watch this 5 times, you might go, oh, son of a gun, he put a globe in there and it's upside down. That's the kind of stuff that's going to be in Island in the Stars.
That's fantastic. And it looks like we got a supporter, not just of the channel, but also of your campaign with Mexican Iron Man for $5 saying, just backed it. Well, thank you, Mexican Iron Man, for the $5. And
you're the best.
Tom,
thank you.
That's great, because as it shows here, that puts you guys over at 63 backers, which is nice. Pretty good, with 38 days left on this crowdfunding campaign. So please,
lots of time. Yeah.
Plenty of time, but please, that time will be running out.
Yes, it does.
So the faster we get there for you in this campaign, Tom, the more committed we're going to see out of the production. So let's do a quick little look at the perks first, and then afterwards I want to listen to Vernon talk about his character, and we can go into a little bit of that inspiration, the story behind that.
Absolutely,
that's a great story. So tell us a little bit about the basic perk, the booty perk.
Well, each one of these perks, we tried to kind of have fun, coming up with pirate technology, terminology or technology that you see in the actual movie. At the basic level, at the lowest level, basically your pirate booty, you can get a digital copy of the poster. You are, immediately part of the film. You're one of the supporters on that. You show you're basically helping buy the ticket when we need it, which is now. And the booty perk is a fun way to get an advanced copy of what will be the final poster. The final poster has not been done yet. All of this is conceptual art. All of this requires that we pay artists to do the final versions of these. But this is a great chance to get in first and just be part of it.
Yeah, so let's go to the next one. And I really do admire the terminology you're using for each of these perks. It's great in line. And the other part too is that a little bit of the stuff is peppered throughout your script, so it's still authentic to what you're doing here. So we have the I'll crush you barnacles.
I'll crush you barnacles. That's right. And this really is a pirate term for overcoming obstacles and burdens, things that might slow you down as a character and as a person. And by purchasing it, it helps us make the film. It gets you a digital version of the soundtrack. It's going to be a full symphonic. As you are, I am also a freak for soundtrack music, particularly orchestral soundtrack music. And so it is a great way to be able to enjoy the soundtrack and get a copy of the poster. And again, get in at this level, help us make the film. This goes towards forming that company in Australia, looking at contracts and things, and get you an advanced listen on the soundtrack. We'll release the digital soundtrack to these people first, and it will be a full orchestral score. We have a terrific composer we're talking to. I'm a huge fan. I remember I got goosebumps watching a scene in this movie that he did, and I was like, God, I'd love to work with that guy. Turns out he had done the music in a short film I acted in 11 years before, and we talked, and we met on an app in a discussion we were having. And I said, I would love to work with you. And we went to lunch, and he's like, I'll do it. And he's a student of John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, and it will be amazing.
That would be, and we're not going to spoil that here today, folks. You gotta.
That's right. We can't spoil it.
We announce that.
Out of deference to him, you're right.
Yes. So the next perk, this one I thought was pretty cool because it comes with a lot of extra little details for
Yeah.
backers, and that is called the Back from the Dead Red perk.
Yeah.
So give us a little tease of this for those that are backing this one. We already have 17 people that have claimed it, so it seems to be the go-to.
It's a popular one. Yeah. It's, Back from the Dead Red is, again, another nautical pirate phrase. If getting back, you want to get back into this. The very cool thing about it is you do get a special thanks in the actual end credits of the movie, and that will be there forever. You can point at it and go, "Hey, see, I helped make a movie." You also get a lot of digital copies. Again, we have these digital copies that are easy to get to you. Copies of the poster, a copy of the film, the soundtrack, even a copy of the script. If you want to see the differences between, the written script and what ended up being in the movie, it'll be something. It'll be a collector's item, and you will physically be part of the film, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have a really cool one. This is the stuff that all cinephiles love, and that is the
Yep.
behind the scenes perk. So
Yep.
what sort of great advantages will people who back this at this level receive for doing so?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I always loved the special editions, the extras on DVDs, or if you'd see a documentary on a film you really like, the making of. Blu-rays have these specials. That's why I love physical media. This gives you a bird's eye view and a fly on the wall at the same time, being part of the process of making it. You will see our behind the scenes, things that we're recording, blogging about, vlogging about. You will have access to seeing how the movie that you're supporting is actually being made. You can pop in and say, "Oh, they're doing the scene in the bridge right now. What did they do? Oh my God, I saw this and that." It gives you an exclusive look at the process of making it, and allows you to feel even more enrolled in, okay, I'm making a sci-fi here, and this is how they do it. I think you will enjoy the movie more knowing the process that got you there, how it was made. You'll see takes where you're like, "Oh, that wasn't the one they used," or that's the one they used. You get everything else, the thanks, the digital stuff, but you also get this behind the scenes look, which to me, I would want that. I love movies and I love cinema. I would want to be part of seeing the process of it being made. It's like you're standing there on the set watching it happen, and that's kind of cool.
That does sound really, really cool. I'm also very interested to see how you guys do the vlog. That's going to be a lot of fun for people. That also might remind many people back in the day when Peter Jackson did a little vlog for Lord of the Rings and King Kong. Not a whole lot of entries because obviously the studios didn't want the spoilers for
too much,
what he was doing. But there were a couple of short ones which really got people excited, and I like the fact that your team is doing this as well. Next, we have this really cool one called the Captain My Captain. Now, this is for $49 US.
That's right.
Let's see what sort of awesome perks come with this tier.
Well, this really moves you up. The IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database, you literally will get a film credit. Like your name will be searchable with the movie, which is super cool. You can, it's kind of a fun, like, hey, I backed this thing, and like when you go, like when the industry searches it, or if you Google search it, there you are. It really puts you at the head of the sort of credit and getting some your name in there for a legacy. You were part of this movie. You get everything else. You get the digital copies and all of that, but you're also part of the Internet Movie Database. You are searchable. You can legit tell people, "Hey, I helped produce this film." And that's pretty cool.
Yes, and that actually goes a very long way in not just in the independent sphere, but also in the studio system as well.
That's right.
Producer credits are basically essentially it's a credit to say, "Hey, bank, give me money to make something else."
Exactly. and it maps across. Yeah, like IMDb also has video games. They also credit internet series. It's not just theatrical movies. So it's a great searchable database, and you will be in it. We'll make sure that you're in it. And not only do you get all the other perks, but you have that as well. And you're again buying the ticket when we need it, which is now.
All right. And then we'll do the cut of your jib, and then we'll listen to Vernon's stuff here because I like the cut of your jib.
Yes,
It's
it's a
definitely
fine
one
cut
of
of your jib.
my favorite of the perks. This one, what's the level up that we get from this one in addition to all the previous ones, which all these perks have? Every additional tier, you get the previous perks stuff as well.
Correct.
So you're not being
It's
excluded
cumulative.
from anything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cumulative. Well, now we're starting to nudge into physical media. We had to find a sweet spot where it made sense to produce exclusive physical media for people where what they're contributing to the movie doesn't eat up everything that you need to send people. That's a mistake a lot of people make in crowdfunding. Yeah, I'll send you digital copies of the movie, but a physical copy and this and this. But you have to have a certain amount of money to make all of this stuff. And we wanted to make it special. So a physical Blu-ray copy of the film, as you know, I'm a huge fan of physical media. I love that someone can't come along your streaming library, go boop, and take it. Oh, the licensing's gone, or no, we don't have the rights to that. You'll have a physical copy. It's a better picture, better sound, and it's a physical copy of the film in addition to everything else that you get. And we will short run produce those for you early. So that you will have a pre-release of that film, your own exclusive backers Blu-ray copy of the film.
That is fantastic. So, speaking of physical and the presence you get from that, let's listen to Vernon talk about his character and the things he loves about making this movie.
Tom hired me to do this wonderful, wonderful film called Trouble Is My Business. And it was a film noir, which I just had so much fun doing. I really enjoyed being around him, working with him. And one day we were sitting around and he said, so tell me, what's 3 films you want to do before you leave this mortal coil? And I thought, wow, we're getting a little personal. But I'll tell him anyway. And I said, well, I would love to play the pirate in Treasure Island. And I would love to play the captain in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the captain of the Nautilus. About 3 months later, he rang me up and he said, I got something I want you to look at. And I said, sure. So he sent me over virtually the breakdown of Island in the Stars. And I was like, oh, you have got to be jerking me. This is so cool. One of those things I've always thought, God, I would love to just be that person, get out and be that man. And I got the chance, which was really, really cool. So I am so psyched about it that it's terribly embarrassing to talk to me. I get all carried away with it. He's a multi-layered character. He's not just this cruel, mean, horrible person. And he's not this sort of sloppy, nice person. He's a piece of all of them. There's all these little, it's like cutting an orange into 8 squares. He's 8 of them, and there's a piece of him in each one of them. And all those pieces are always intermingled and being used. And I think that's the fascination with him. The villain to himself is the hero. The villain is doing something he feels is right. Our hero is the villain to him because our hero is trying to stop him doing what he thinks is right. Working with Tom is great. I love working with Tom because we are great friends and we both have the same sense of humor, which is stupid. And we enjoy what we're doing. Tom has that same sensibility that I have, as if you're going to be on set doing a film, make it fun. You're having fun, the other actors are having fun, the director's enjoying what he's doing, directing you. And also the director can actually direct. And that's one thing that Tom can do. He can direct. I mean, even if I hit him in a fight scene, he refuses to go down. I have to continue with what I'm doing. The thing about Tom when you're working with him is he can't speak in English. He speaks in terminology of what we're doing. We've got this spaceship and it's 300 miles long and 60 miles wide and we've got 12 decks. It's like, I only said good morning, Tom. So he speaks, that's what I love, is because his mind is there, when you're talking about the film, Tom just lays it out in front of you. I'm looking forward to beginning the pre-production, and I will be one of the producers with Tom and two other people. We have an Australian producer as well, and it's much nicer to cast a film with everybody in that film who fits the part and is the part, because then you believe what you're watching, and that's what we're trying to get, and that's what we want to make. But I get the idea that this is a world that exists, and we are going to inhabit it and use it to our advantage to make a film. And just from that perspective, from me personally, I've been in this business since I was, I don't know, quite a long time. And I know every in and out, up, down, sideways, you name it. I've done every goddamn thing. For me, I think this is the most important thing, is that I can get this material and I can get this stuff with Tom together, and I can look at it and go, I have 150% knowledge that this man will make this work.
Oh, that is awesome. And what I see here from Don Ranger Power, who says, "Oh, I can
Right
see
there.
a pic of the legendary Vernon Wells, who I loved as Ransik in Power Rangers Time Force, Time Force." Yeah, you have a great story about Vernon Wells. Why don't you share it with the audience here
Oh,
for those that may not have heard it before?
oh yeah. And I got to tell you, Script, hearing Vernon say that he believes in me, that I can execute it, that he says, you know, this man can make this film. It means so much to me, because the first R-rated movie I ever saw was Road Warrior. And to think that Vernon is sitting there saying that, having worked with me, that he believes that I can pull this off, means everything. The way that I met him, you couldn't have written in a script, and it would not have been believable. When I first moved out here, I was working at Circuit City, which was an electronics store. I worked there for about 3 months before they fired me, and I was there for Christmas help. And in walks Vernon, and this was Vernon like towards the end of the 80s, early 90s. So he had just rocked, you know, Inner Space and Commando and Road Warrior and all these, you know, Weird Science, all these things. And I run up to him as a young kid, and I'm like, "Hey, Vernon Wells, I'm such a big fan. I love these movies. One day you're going to make a movie with me. I know it. We're going to make a movie together." And he looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, okay, kid." So a decade goes by, and all of a sudden I'm put in his orbit. A mutual friend through Comic-Con, and then through an audition, I see him again, and I tell him about Trouble Is My Business and the project, and he's the nicest guy. He's like, "You know what? Okay, I'll read it." And he doesn't think it's going to be anything. He calls me back the next day. He's like, "This is actually good." So it started a friendship and a collaboration of years. He ended up being in the movie. And when we had this conversation during the movie, I reminded him back in the late 80s, early 90s, I go, "You know, I ran up to you and I said, one day we're going to make a movie together." And you didn't believe me. And he's like, "You got to be kidding." And he hits me again in the scene and the thing. And I was like, "This is exactly what I wanted to have happen." So I absolutely loved the fact that life presented me with a full circle. It was so gratifying to be able to be accepted by somebody that you kind of looked up to, and you're like, "Gosh, could I do it? Am I going to be good enough?" He thought it was good enough. And then, because I had his back, and I love to have actors back as far as performance and making them look good. And if you want to make a star, you shoot him like a star. And once he felt like, okay, this man has mastered cinema. He understands how to tell a story, but also how to communicate with us and the actors. Him saying that in this video meant everything to me. The first time I heard him say it, I was like, wow, you know, it's a real vote of confidence. And the way that I met him, it will live with me forever. He's literally the first famous person I ever saw in LA, and he's from Australia.
That's an awesome story. And there's, and listen, everybody in the industry has a story similar to that in some regards, but yours really has a real great stepping stone feature to it, because it's like you met a hero who ended up being a hero still in
Yeah,
your eyes,
very
a good
much so.
friend and collaborator.
Yeah.
That's that's a great thing to have, and that part is what I think is really special about the story that you shared with the audience today.
Thank you.
To go a little bit further, we have a nice little statement, one that I think you would have fun elaborating on, which is from the Introspect M, who says, "I find that the music score is a major factor in making a movie feel high quality."
Yes, nothing gives away a movie's budget or quality like the sound. First off, dialogue and how well it's recorded and the soundscape of things, but the music score, if you skimp on that, it cheapens everything. I get goosebumps when I hear a piece of music I love, and I listen to movie soundtracks and classical music and all kinds of music when I was writing this. As you know, I love to listen to music while I'm writing. I really required that this film have a classical, old-fashioned, old-school, swashbuckling adventure score, and it needs to be orchestral. But yeah, music's so important. When you drive, you put on music. That's the soundtrack that drives you. That's your window's the screen, and it drives you from one place to the other. It is so important. It's literally another script and another story. You have the visual, you have the dialogue, and you have the music score, all of them informing you how you can feel.
Absolutely. In fact, that's something. It's great that you made this statement, Introspect, because if you're followers of my Patreon, I dropped a post Monday because I got the privilege to go see some trailers for some film festivals, and this company, they organize how they show the trailers and market the trailers for the film festivals, and it's from a lot of independent films, some that are like what you and I would do way back in the day, like the truly micro budget independent films, where it's basically you're lucky if you got $15,000 if you got a cent.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah,
and I saw a number of those, and one of the things that impressed me greatly is I've seen some new filmmakers come along that do professional sound mixing, great lighting for that micro budget, and then you see
yeah,
some that have been in the industry for years where they're still doing the same thing they did 20 years ago,
yeah.
and it's like, where's the disconnect here? And that's kind of one of the things that people should appreciate about yourself is with every project you've done, whether it be from Safety Geeks to Trouble Is My Business, you see a growth in your technique and
Yeah.
your direction and your quality, which you don't often get to see as much as you'd expect in the indie sphere. And I think that's something to share with the audience, is that when you're putting your money into a Tom Konkle project, you are going to see every cent on that screen and then some. You might even see the value of 2 cents for only 1 cent you contributed.
That's right. I stay up extra late. Yeah, no, you're right. I've learned from every step. You have to be humble about these things. Like I only see mistakes, on some of the old things I did, but it's part of a growth. And for me, if you're not learning and you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. And what I've tried to do is push myself every time, where it's like anything I do is a time capsule of, okay, here's where Tom was at this moment. That was the best I could do with what little I had, or what I had to work with, and tried to, make much with little. But stylistically, I'm still evolving. I'm still trying things. And I think you have to. You're right. So many people find a groove and just stay in it, and other people innovate but then lose their way. You have to make it a progression where it's like you learn more from the mistakes. You learn more from watching. Sometimes you learn more from watching a bad movie than a good movie, because a good movie, you're like, okay, I'm out. I quit. There's nothing more I can do. Whereas a not so good movie, you go, you know what? If you had done this, or I see what they did that was transparent with their camera technique, the acting, or the story. So it's all part of evolving as an artist. If you're an indie artist, you're asking for permission to do a film because you need money. So most of your time is fundraising. So the reward is going out there and going, this is what I've learned. This is what I want to try. And because the budget on something like this is lower than what Hollywood would do, we could take a few risks.
And if there's one thing audiences like that the corporations are terrified of, it's a good risk. So let's go to the next question by Dave T. Geek, who asks, has Tom tried working with Angel Studios for something like this?
It's funny. Before they had their big movie come out, I had found them online, and I have them on my list of people to talk to. They do some financing, they do distribution, but yes, those are the kinds of places that we definitely are reaching out to with something that's different. This appeals to broad audiences. This is not a message movie. This is not only appealing to one political spectrum. This is what we call a 4-quadrant movie. It's like grandma's going to love it, you're going to love it, kids, all for different reasons. We're not trying to please everybody, just enough people. But I am reaching out to those kind of indie studios to see if maybe they can also help us. Definitely.
And I think that's fantastic, because it goes down to the core aspect of storytelling, which is just tell a great story.
Yeah.
Let the audience take what you have to say, and ideally you want it to contribute to their lives, because I always find that story is an exploration, not so much an escapism, but an exploration. You are shown another world that you are taking your perspectives into, and you're using that to reconcile what these new experiences are, and hopefully it resonates strongly enough with you that you are able to bring something out of that you can share with other people. So
Great
that's
point.
one of the things I really like about story. From Tree Rock Creations, we have a question that says, if this first goal of 66,000 is reached, is there another goal to be set?
Yes. This literally, unfortunately, this movie cannot be made for 66,000. I wish it could. We have stretch goals. All of them are listed on the Indiegogo page. The link to that will be here in the chat, and I believe it's pinned on the video here. If we break out, we can start making offers to cast. We can start addressing some of the more expensive items in it. At the end of the day, a second round of funding is already in place with second money. This would really be the first money in. Second money would come from investors in larger blocks in Australia and here in the US. Those people, once we've done this, once we've made those offers, taken care of the distribution contract and everything, those people are coming in with millions of dollars to help us finish this. And they're taking advantage of the producer's offset in Australia and other returns on their investment. They'll have a 120% return on investment. So your contribution right now is the first round, first money in. So it gets you in, ground floor with a bird's eye view, and it's buying the ticket when the filmmakers need it to make the rest of this happen.
Yes. And do we want to go over just a quick tier 2 and tier 3 stretch goals with regards to the shooting star goal, as you can say it?
Yes.
With regards to what we have here, just briefly,
Sure.
and then we'll get.
Let's look at tier 1. Yeah, if we go up to tier 1, the funding goal is 66,000. The initial goal covers the legal costs. We're setting up a company in Australia so we can accept the financing and hit the ground. Storyboarding, we want to pay artists to do the storyboarding and concepting. There's production insurance, breakdown, logistics, the admin. These are all things that would need to happen. You have to have a cash register to accept the money. And so we would use all of this. We've got a casting director already to do the initial casting. Costs money, so we would pay them. And all those prices we're very transparent about. They're all listed right there on the page. If you look at tier 2, that funding goal is essentially a stretch goal. If we get up to 250,000, and again, with Indiegogo, fortunately, anywhere in there, they take a higher percentage if you don't make your goal, but once you get beyond it, they take a flat percentage of what you raise. And so that helps us as the filmmaker and you as the person contributing, because the stretch goal, that goes to the production. We can go to the location and secure those locations. We've estimated what they cost with travel and accommodations to shoot there. Key cast and crew contracts, you got to hire a lawyer for that. A lawyer in Australia, 10,000. These pay or play deals, which is basically, I've approached A-list actors already, and many of them have already said, I love it, I read the script, I want to do it. Problem is the gatekeepers around them, their agent, etc. You have to make an offering of some amount of money before they will commit to saying, okay, you can tell a distributor, you can tell people I'm in the movie, because anybody could say, oh, so-and-so's in the movie, or hey, we're going to reunite Vernon with this legendary Australian actor, but we don't have any money. You have to do a pay or play. And the reason it's called pay or play is you put that money up, and that's when they begin to play with you. And that's when it gets real for a distributor, because you can say, hey, so and so is in this, she's in this movie, this actress is committed to doing it. So anything beyond our initial raise goes towards making that happen. And so obviously the long game on this is if we can get into tier 2 and start to make some concrete offers to people, reaching all the way up to like a tier 3 where we're making pay or play deals with Ben Mendelsohn, Hugo Weaving, Mel Gibson, possibly. Some of these people have already said yes. We just don't have the money to get them to commit through their agent. And so this would break a cycle of woe that we have. And something I wanted to mention that just came up in the Indiegogo as I'm scrolling through, by committing to this, it removes the obstacles that are hindering us from approaching these investors that are interested in doing it. It is our belief that having this first money in, not only is that like a domino effect, but it also shows there's an audience for this film. We can physically go, look, these are the people that said, we're sick of what Hollywood's doing, let's try something else. They put their money where their mouth is. They bought a ticket. They're in. They bought behind the scenes. And so I feel like it's an important message to send as a production. Go, hey, there's an audience. There's people that are hungry to try something original, because that's the first thing that comes back is, well, this isn't a known IP, or this isn't a best-selling book or comic book, or this isn't a remake or a reboot. Well, we can show them, look, these people backed Island in the Stars. There's an audience hungry to try something new. Don't give me the same story of, yeah, it's great, but it's too original, or we don't do original things. This is an opportunity for you to use your voice and vote with your pocketbook.
Absolutely. And that's and the ways that you can vote with your pocketbook is by taking a shot across the bow with this tier right here.
That's right.
For my master of segue.
Well segued.
Thank you. Well, you set me up quite well for that, sir.
Yeah.
So all of the additional ones, you also have this other perk which really piqued my interest, called the Star Chart Vector Print. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for the audience?
Part of her quest, when you're called to an adventure, there is a chart. There's a way to get there. There is a star chart in this that we want to make available to people at this level, the shot across the bow. You will have, as seen in the movie, a actual print of that star chart. We're doing a very limited run of them. So if the movie happens to really take off, you'll have something that's really special. You get everything from the previous perks, but you also get the thing that started it all for the character as an actual physical print. And we've been designing some super cool things for this print. So it allows you to have basically a prop from the movie.
Yeah, and one of the things that I liked about this, so in many science fiction stories, or many type of coming of age adventures, you have the courier role or you have the quest role. So the courier role is basically Star Wars. They have to get the plans, Death Star plans, to the rebellion.
Yes.
And in Island of the Stars, you have what looks like a map, and following a destination that is well, it will be revealed. So I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say it's not a mystery box.
No.
Anyone out there that is worried about it.
No, it is not a mystery box. We definitely open it. In fact, very early on in the story, it is something that can, let's say, be controlled by one unique person. And it is simply the starting point that takes you on the journey. And it's an important aspect of the story. There's very little mystery to it other than, how are you able to use this thing?
Which I think is a good mystery, good question to explore, especially in this. Now we also have a really cool one called Dead Men Tells No Tales perk. So what else can you provide us with this one here? What sort of benefits do you get from this one, and how are they integrated when it comes to the film?
Well, this one is a real step up. This one, you again get all of the perks from the previous, but what we've added in is it's set in a world where there are space pirates and there are certain shady characters, and we will transform you into one of the characters, a sought-after character on a holographic wanted poster. It will be basically the essence of your character in wanted poster form with this sort of science fiction steampunk aesthetic. So you will have a limited edition wanted poster that showcases your role within this movie and portrays you as pretty much a legendary outlaw, which is kind of cool. So it's a collectible. It's kind of a fun way to get yourself literally your image and you in the movie.
And the image is only going to be used for this movie, correct?
Correct. Yeah. You will be the holder of the poster. You could do whatever you want out of it.
Exactly, because again, that's been a point of contention, justifiably
Yes.
so, for a lot of actors. And for
Yeah,
anyone that wants to
exactly.
try and claim hypocrite, I want to assure you, not here.
Yeah,
Not with Tom's
exactly.
movie, A Violin in the Stars.
Yeah, and I'm in all the unions. I support everything that is being, striving for. If the strike is still going on, we will get an interim agreement where we're agreeing to the things necessary in advance to get this thing made. We're doing everything on the up and up and correctly. This isn't an AI film in any way. This isn't a film that ignores the great contributions that the union has done for me and for writers. So we support that. At the end of the day, these perks are personalized thank yous.
All right, and then we only have a few more, but you have a lot of variety, which is absolutely fantastic for the audience and the people that would back this. So let's get into some of the stuff with regards to the Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yes. Yeah, that is another way to have a little piece of history here. You'll have an autographed script. The script will be signed by the cast and by myself and the producers, and it can become a part of your collection. Say, look, I helped make this script. You receive a physical signed copy of the script and all the other perks. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to find out who contributed. We can write a little note to you and sign the script, and it's our way of saying thanks in some physical, concrete way.
Yeah, I think that's also great because you again, nothing is as cool these days as holding a physical script for
Yes.
either a movie completed or a movie about to be in production.
Yes.
Usually, a lot of those come in sort of like traditional book forms. Which I'm not going to spoil what the next. Okay, I kind of spoiled a little bit to the next one because you have something similar to that coming up. But yeah, this is going to be a proper looking script that will be signed by the cast and you guys there. That I think will be. I mean, it's a great way to get some of whatever actors end up being in this thing. I mean, aside from obviously Vernon, a great way to get his autograph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a collector, you just want it. I am the writer with Michael Smith. I've written many screenplays, as you know, including the script to Trouble Is My Business. I was a staff writer at Warner Brothers. I did 2 seasons of Be Cool Scooby Doo. I've done a bunch of feature scripts, a bunch of pilots, written for the stage. I've been a writer most of my life, and fortunately, I get paid, which is even better. But it is something that I'm constantly learning, and this script has really been the bucket for me pouring out all of my dreams.
So yes, when you support the Flotsam and Jetsam, get a piece of that bucket.
That's right, a piece of that bucket.
We also have a really cool one called Parlay with Us. So elaborate a little bit more with the Parlay with Us perk, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, pirates can parlay, and for us, it's having a actual 15-minute Zoom call with myself and Vernon, or myself and some combination of someone, depending on who you want to talk to, where you can actually get a chance to ask us anything you've been dying to ask, to get some advice about something, some insight. We will have a for real conversation, and I would love to have an opportunity to sit down with you and chat about the film and have you ask questions, and we can start an actual dialogue about the film. And this perk allows you to set up a time when you can Zoom with us in Australia and do just that.
And that sounds pretty cool. So for anyone out there who ever want to show your reverence for whatever cast members are able to qualify for this, that is a great opportunity for you to seize upon. We then have Making of Collector's Edition book. So this is the thing I kind of spoiled a little bit, but please continue to elaborate for the audience
Oh,
listening.
absolutely. Again, we're getting more into physical media. We're going to do a really nice bound. Like I started already with the production. This is my appropriate looking production journal for Island in the Stars, which is leather bound with these great old pieces of paper, and I'm making notes on everything. We're going to do a cool coffee table style book that encompasses the entire production, and we will make that available at this level, the collector's edition book perk. You get everything. You actually get a physical soundtrack. You get a poster print, Blu-ray. It's a lot of physical media, signed copy of the script, your IMDb film credit, which makes your name searchable across that, and this collector's edition book, which I think will be a wonderful look at from the early stages of development until the final scenes will be in that book.
That sounds really, really cool. And now we get into a collection of meet and greets with some of the people. I want to highlight Krista Vendy, because we haven't spoken about her yet, but she's one of the people that has agreed to this. So yeah, elaborate a little bit of what your meet and greets with these actors are, including Krista Vendy.
Yes. Krista is a wonderful Australian actress. She was in Neighbours. She's super supportive. She believes in this so much she actually bought a perk. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, no, I believe in this. She is absolutely wonderful. We have a meet and greet with her, meet and greet with Emily. We may be adding other meet and greets as we add to the cast. We have a meet and greet with the creators, with Mike and I. It's all an opportunity to sit down with us. You can actually, if you can make it out to Melbourne, Australia, travel and accommodations we can't include, but once you've put in for this amount, we will sit down with you, we'll have a nice dinner, and we will chat with everything, and you'll have a chance to actually get to know them and say, look, I helped make this film. So it's a great opportunity to meet in person.
Yeah, we got the creators. So as we're getting towards the end of the perks available, let's take a look at this big one here, almost $750 called The Hero's Journey.
Yes, that is really the VIP. It includes a red carpet invitation. We will invite you to, we're going to try and do 2 great premieres, one in Australia, one here. I'd love to premiere it here at Comic-Con or something. You get tickets. You get all the physical media, the star chart print, the poster, the soundtrack, Blu-ray, signed copy of the script, everything. It is basically a look. I would love to see this movie here, guys. It gives us an opportunity to make the movie, and something that Lucinda Bruce, who's our Australian producer, was saying. She's like, someone that gets this really loves movies and wants to be part of it, but it is kind of a once in a lifetime thing, to be honest. You're going to be on the red carpet as someone who actually physically had something to do with making the movie. So we wanted to make it pretty special and pretty exciting.
And justifiably so, because I mean, if you sign up at this tier, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's a pretty good contribution, and I think
it is
the value for that, for basically a red carpet invite. Not only that, the amount of people you have the opportunity to meet at such an event as well is well,
pretty much the entire cast. Yeah, the cast and crew, and also invited people that the cast and crew have brought in. We're bringing in some A-list actors. Many of them have already looked at this and given a thumbs up. It's really just a matter now of us making an offer. So you'd have an opportunity to meet all these people.
And then here we go for the people that like the technology and the effects. We have a VFX seminar.
Yes.
Which is really cool because, again, as you mentioned, Mike Smith, who's been doing this type of stuff for over 20 years, an expert in his field.
Very much so.
Share
Award-winning. Yeah, Mike is a visual effects genius. I happened to meet him. I was doing a film, and he was doing some of the VFX on it, and I heard him kind of chuckling as I was making jokes and things. I was like, wow, this guy has a sense of humor and does visual effects. We ended up to become friends, but also friends with a purpose. We started working on films together. He ended up starting Luminactus, which is the production company here in Burbank, with me. We produced the feature. We've produced probably 1,000 hours of video programming up to now. We have many clients, corporate clients and other people that we do everything from graphics, logo design to VFX to soup to nuts, from concept on out. Mike will teach you as best he can in a masterclass about the craft of visual effects, where it is right now, which ones we were using, how it's done. If you yourself are working on something, it's a time to ask questions. He will provide his knowledge, his skill to show you how to integrate visual effects into a project. And what a great opportunity to sit down with someone and get him to actually address your project or your concerns. And the same with all the other masterclasses. We will address your concerns in that sort of masterclass format.
Which sounds like a great opportunity to have. And then, of course, we got one that I think is always favorite of mine, the screenwriting seminar.
Yes.
So,
yes.
It basically is the same variation with regards to visual effects, I assume. Any other add-ons that you can share with us?
Well, very much so. If you have something you want to bring to the table, if you want to pitch something, we can't accept outside pitches, but if you have something you're working on and want some ideas and notes, we'd be happy to give you some personalized feedback on your work. We will have a presentation, sort of interactive exercises for writing, little tricks that we've picked up. It's a overall celebration of the written word. And as you know, the script, as good as it can be, it is the blueprint for a film. And the more airtight it is, the better the sort of structure. It's all structure, then dialogue, point of view. We can help give some insight into how we created it. And by sharing that information, maybe make you a better writer, or even if you're just a fan of scripting and writing and interested in story and how people do it, it's a great opportunity to see that.
Absolutely. And one thing I always tell my patrons, my audience, is that if you want to get better at writing, read lots of other scripts and talk to other writers, because they will help you. And then we also have another great one, a producer seminar, which I think has also got a great deal of value, because there's a lot of people out there who don't really know exactly what a producer is or does.
That's right. Yeah, it's pushing everyone around a hole and then pushing them into the hole at the same time, and the hole's moving. The producing seminar could be very instructive. That's Lucinda there in the graphic. She is a pro. Everything from line producing to executive producing. She can give you a real look from how do I take my story, what does a producer do? How do they navigate all the hurdles and logistics they have to do to make a film? You can get some insight into that, how to find resources if you're interested in producing something, or more importantly, if you're just an audience member and you're like, how do you do this? And what do you guys do? What is your job? That's the time to ask about it in a kind of collaborative seminar.
Yes, and something of very that's also very value to you, whether you are a general person wanting to get into filmmaking, whether you are, say, a commentator on movies. This is a very great opportunity for you to get into the minutia of what that title of producing is, so that you can better understand all the chaos that goes into making a movie.
Yes.
If there's one duty that experienced the most chaos of anything, it's probably going to be the producer.
Yes. Yeah, they are the one that weathers the forefront. They're the ones that, oh my gosh, we lost the hotel today. We need to make this happen. Oh, and we need a second camera because it's broken. They're the ones that take care of the problems, but also help make it happen. And having a real visionary producer who gets it, who gets the story you're trying to do, is even better and rarer. And finding that kind of person, we were lucky to find it with Lucinda. I'm lucky with Mike. Even Vernon, he's a great producer because they get story and they believe in the director's vision. And a good producer goes, okay, it's going to be hard, but Tom, if you want that and you need that outside, we'll make it happen. And this is how they make it happen.
Absolutely. Now here we get into some of the cool stuff. We have Adopt a Pirate perk. Share with us how we adopt a pirate.
How we adopt a
from
pirate?
your
Well,
film.
absolutely. So, adopting a pirate, you can actually leave your mark on the film. You can name one of the pirates in the film. You can properly have it appear in the end credits. You know, if you have a daughter or a son or someone you like, or maybe someone you don't like, you can name a pirate in the film after them, and it will actually be in the credits. You can actually shape a character. You get all the physical media, signed copy, the Blu-ray, the credit, the soundtrack, and thing. But most importantly, you can adopt a pirate and name them.
That is pretty cool. You get
Yeah.
to name one of the characters a pirate in Island in the Stars.
In the Island
Who
of the
knows?
Stars. That's right.
then
And we have
have
male and female pirates. So you can name the pirate of your choice.
That's absolutely correct. And now we have the last perk. And once we detail this out perk for you guys in the audience, we'll start doing the wrap up here. And we want to thank everyone who has been sticking with us for this entire time. This
Yes.
actual presentation has gone out about 30 minutes longer than intended, but it's been a great fun
Oh,
talk
wonderful.
with Tom and with all of you guys out there in the chat. So let's talk about the big kahuna perk, the Leviathan perk,
The
if you
whale.
will.
Yeah.
And then we'll start closing it out. So please.
The Leviathan perk. If you go in and you've really wanted to produce a movie, and I saw some people in the chat like, hey, I have, a couple $1,000s laying around. Well, if you really are serious and you decide you want to do it, you can become an executive producer. For the 5,000 and above level, you will receive an actual executive producer credit. You'll get all the physical media, come to the red carpet as one of the executive producers on the film, and you will literally be invited to this event and mingle with everybody, the actors, the crew, myself, as a partner, as a collaborator on the film. By putting a significant amount of money in when we needed you to believe in us, we're grateful. We're realistic. We can pull this thing off with your help. Someone putting in at that level really moves the ball forward. There are things that need to happen with this, that being a small indie, you putting in something at the Leviathan perk level moves that ball forward, and you receive not only the experience of doing it, but a physical credit for doing it as an executive producer.
And that's one heck of a bargain, if I don't say so myself, for a producer credit in an independent feature film. So with that being said, I see that we have Zax, who has his own channel, and he's going to be hosting you. I guess tomorrow, Wednesday, right?
Tomorrow, that's right. Yeah,
So,
I enjoyed being on his show before, and we're going to come back and do a little catch up. He's been so supportive, and I'm grateful that he's invited me back.
So I don't have a link for that, but I will be sharing that out on X, Twitter, what have you, when that goes live. We're going to start wrapping it up right now. We have Davina Duckworth, who says, thanks for letting us know about this exciting film project. Well, this is one of the things I love doing when I have the opportunity to talk with you guys on YouTube, is talk a little bit business, talk a little bit of fun. And also when I get the opportunity to share a movie, whether it be a studio or an independent film or what have you, I'm always happy to be able to arrange it so that you guys know about it. Because one of the things that's difficult in the current distribution model is there's so much out there that it kind of overwhelms you in finding the stuff that you really want to find. So hopefully I can help be an outlet of that for you in the audience. And I'm always happy to be able to do that for colleagues and friends such as Tom Konkle here. We also have Brett Cohen, who says, after this interview, I'll be letting everyone I know in Sydney, Melbourne to jump on board.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that is fantastic. We've been trying to figure out how to reach out to the Australian market. Alone just mentioning Vernon Wells should get some interest down there. But yes, anyone you know down in Australia, this is a celebration of Australian talent, of the location of some legendary Australian actors, old and young, that we want to include in this film. So yes, pass on the word. In fact, I will say every person who shares this campaign and tags the Indiegogo or our account on their post, either Instagram, Facebook, put it on your Instagram or your Facebook or wherever you post, you can receive a numbered Island in the Stars digital poster. You just show us that you've tagged it and you've spread the word, because we want your help in amplifying our message.
And Brett gives us a donation of $5 Australian, saying, knowing several locales in the industry, when will the call go out for gaffers, lighting, etc.?
That would be late in 2024. We're looking at Docklands, if you're familiar with that area. Looking at the Docklands studios, and also shooting in and around that area, and also Dream Screen, which we have a great relationship with them down there. We'll let you know. We should put the call out, hopefully, if all goes well, the end of next year.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you so much, Tom, for coming on today to promote your Indiegogo campaign, tell people about this awesome script and movie project that you want to make, essentially, not just for yourself, but mostly for them, it
Yeah.
seems, which is a great way to have an alignment with your audience.
Yeah, that's the
do you
whole
have
point.
any- Yeah, it's the whole point. Can you, any final words you want to leave us as we call it a show?
Sure. First off, Script Doctor, you're amazing. Thank you for having me on here. You are a very talented and supportive person. I knew I could count on you. You've asked great questions. Again, I encourage anybody that's looking at writing solutions or ideas to reach out to you. You provide invaluable notes, invaluable ideas. And I respect your opinion and how you conduct yourself as a person immensely. And I really am grateful to be here. At the end of the day, this project is going to be made for two reasons. One, I just want people to see it. I just want to make something that hopefully stands the test of time. It's ambitious. I know we have so many skills, so many chances to do this. This is an opportunity right now to strike. There's never been a better time with Hollywood where it's at right now. With our skill set and all the talented people around this thing, we can pull this off. The barrier's always been money, and now we have a chance to leap over that barrier with you. I want to see this movie. It's a movie that you don't do anything that you yourself don't want to see. You make something where it's like, I want to see and enjoy this, and I want other people to enjoy it. Take a look at the Indiegogo page. Join our Facebook page, the Island in the Stars Facebook page. It gives us an idea of how many people are interested and lets us be in communication with you. I appreciate all your well wishes, all your great questions. Reach out to me if you have any more questions. Reach out to Script. Support his channel. Subscribe and like it right here if you haven't already. And thank you for having me.
I'm happy to be here, and I just want to let everyone know who has been watching that we got 2 additional backers right now. Who knows what that'll be towards the end of the day. Let's do a little onward to 100, at least for this week, and hopefully to many, many more. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us today in the chat as we do this. Never forget, when it comes to great story, it all starts with the script.